everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the Slated Double Features podcast with your hosts, Joshua Francisco Mitchell and the mysterious Matthew Vivian. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Wow,
the
mysterious.
Spine tingling.
What, because it's a spy film? Argylle.
Yes, spy and tingling.
Very, very, very clever. All right, how are you?
Thank you. I'm grand. I'm in the depths of unemployment and dailying. Which is arguably the worst place to be in film.
Well, it's better to be dailying than not working at all, at least. It's not always very fun. Right, this episode, I think we said last week we're going to just do a really serious one. We've been talking about it.
Yes.
I think we've sort of decided no one wants to see that. So we're going to talk about Argylle. We're going to do that as a normal sort of light-hearted thing. We'll do some cursed double features with that. And then if you want to carry on and talk and listen to us get very serious, talking about the zone of interest, then stick along. If you just come here for the jokes and the silliness, then maybe that would be your cup of tea.
Yeah.
But we're going to do Argylle first, and I think we'll have a lot of fun with it.
To get that into a single sentence, Matt is a coward and didn't want to talk about the Holocaust for 2 hours. So we're going to do funny Matthew Vaughn film.
I don't think anyone will watch it. And also, Argylle's new, and it's nice to talk about new stuff. That's what gets the clicks, to be honest, isn't it?
And who is Agent Argylle? Who is it?
Well, we're about to find out. Except, first of all, we're going to talk about everything else we've watched in the week.
Weekly Roundup Yee Haw.
Weekly Roundup Yee Haw. Oh boy, this is very fun. Do you want to go first?
Oh my god, you can tell I haven't been working because I actually have things to talk about in the Weekly Roundup Yee Haw. Firstly, The Holdovers. Have you seen that?
I sure have.
What did you think?
I liked it. I do. People have been giving like 5 stars and stuff, which I think you did too.
I did.
I feel like it's kind of isn't something. I've seen it before. I feel like it's not. I don't watch it, but this is so fresh. This is 5 stars worth of funny or heartwarming, or the characters I love a 5-star amount. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was well crafted. It is a good story. You do get invested, and it's quite funny. And Paul Giamatti's very good in it.
Very good. To that, I would say yes. It's a Christmas film. If anyone doesn't know, it's a film set at Christmas, but isn't really a Christmas film. Like, it's not really about the season or anything like that. I watched it in January.
Yeah, but I think it'd be weird not to watch it at Christmas.
Yeah,
it's not.
It lends itself
it's still
to it,
very much about it.
You don't have to. Yeah,
it's a bit like The Green Knight. It's sort of that came out in October, I think, but that felt wrong. It felt like I should really be watching it at Christmas.
Okay, but the difference for me for a film like this compared to, like, as you said, other very similar Christmassy vibey films is that it keeps you guessing the entire way through. Like, you're invested in the drama, in the characters, but you're never entirely sure where it's going to go. So you kind of start with the quote unquote holdovers, who are these very rich prep school kids who get left at school and are expected to stay there over Christmas. And you start with a group of them, but then they all leave, and then Paul Giamatti is just left with the problem child, and then they kind of grow as characters, same as the cook. They grow because they're there, and I thought it was just lovely. I thought it was really lovely.
That was a bit of a spoiler there. I don't know if you put that in the pod, but yes, I would say I disagree with you saying that it's not very predictable and you didn't know where it was going to go. But I've seen this trailer before films in the cinema for about the past 3 months, and they literally just say every single plot point.
You see, I think you're selling it short. I really think you're selling it short.
It's just that, I think the last like 20 minutes or something isn't in the trailer, but the rest of it is just like, I knew exactly every single beat they were going to fit. And even at the end, it didn't surprise me. It was, I don't know, I think that was the biggest downfall of the movie, is the fact that I knew every single thing that was going to happen, like well before it happened. And it never surprised me at all.
I don't know why you still watch the trailers in 2024.
Well, that's because it was before the cinema.
I close my eyes and put my headphones on and go into like a sensory deprivation mode. So maybe you should try that next time.
Well, I didn't think I was going to watch it, and it got like really good reviews. And I was like, well, I guess I'm watching The Holdovers then.
You're like, how the hell did they give Paul Giamatti such a lazy eye?
I genuinely don't know.
I don't know either.
Very, very well done, and he won't say, and so I don't know. My theory is that, apart from the fact it's like bulging, I don't know how they did that, but I think it might be a contact lens, but it's like the pupil is like offset, I guess.
Yeah, but
like
then he still has a pupil, doesn't he? That has to be like a whole fake eye.
But it would have to be a whole. Yeah, but it wouldn't have a hole in the middle of the contact lens. It would just be completely opaque, so we can't see through it. That's my theory. Maybe
VFX.
Paul Giamatti just has a fake eye.
Who knows?
Or it might be VFX, but it looked so perfect, and I feel like they wouldn't waste it. Anyway, we've talked about the
Very
Holdovers.
good. Very good.
Recommendation. It's good. Yeah.
This next one, this is for my Matthew Vivians out there. I watched Bottoms.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. And as an Iowa Debris hater, she was very good in Bottoms. So it must just be her in The Bear that I really dislike.
Okay.
But it was really funny. I give it 4.5. Yes, it goes to places that you don't expect.
I'm really glad you liked it. I thought you would watch it after me recommending it on every single episode, and then I just see on Letterboxd you've given it like 2 stars or something. I fully expected you to hate it, so I'm really glad that you didn't.
Well, I know after watching it, I now know why you gave it 5 stars, and it's just because it's about 2 girls trying to have sex with loads of other girls. I don't even think you watched it. I think you just kind of saw that log line.
I watched
like,
it on
that's
mute.
A bit of me.
Yeah, that'll do.
No, it's very funny. I've only dropped half a star because I feel like the other lead,
Rachel Sennett.
I just wish she did more. Just kind of comic relief. I wish she...
I mean, they're in the same number of... They have the same screen time. But I thought that... Rachel Sennett was very funny in it. And she was one of the writers
really
as well.
great. Yeah. Really great. And it's nice to see bottom representation in cinema. For too long that we have been misrepresented and overshadowed by tops. And I know I'm speaking for both of us, Matt. We're very famously bottoms, aren't we?
You said that just as I have water in my mouth. I couldn't defend myself. No. Well, I'm glad you liked it. We've got lots of films to talk about. Let's move on to something else.
Okay. My last one, I watched, not last night, the night before, with my friend Amy, who's living in Prague, or Pragui, as they pronounce it over there.
You went to
Limbo.
Pragui just to watch a film?
Limbo from 2020, a film about refugees living in an island in Scotland. It's
wow, that sounds like a fucking laugh a minute, doesn't it?
a little indie film 4 thing. You know what it's like. You've seen films like this before. Very dry, funny at parts, but also shockingly horrific at parts for a film that we put on to be light. It was very good. Very good. 4 out of 5.
I'm glad you liked that. Right, is that all you've got to say about it?
That's me for this week.
Wow, okay, I've got quite a few, so I'll try not to take too much time on them. The Descent. Have you seen The Descent?
It's been on my list for so long. I have not formally seen The Descent.
Well, I liked it. It's about
Would you say
6
it was
women.
Decent?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I like the pause, but like the computing time for that.
It's about 6 women going into like caving, going deep in underground.
Oh, that's a metaphor for something, isn't it?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. And then they find some cave monsters that annoy them. And yeah, the cave monsters are meant to be like men, and there's like allegories going on. It's also really, really scary. And they do a clever thing in that at the start, when they're all like meeting in a lodge and stuff, I'm like, why does every one of these women have a different accent? Like, why are they friends from like all around the world? And then they go into the cave, and it's pitch black, and you just see 6 head torches. And I'm like, I'm really glad they did that. But no, it is really scary. It's good. I want to see the second one, but at the same time, I've heard it's dreadful, so maybe I won't. Society of the Snow. Have you seen that?
Oh, I haven't. It's like Spanish, isn't it?
It's Spanish, yeah.
Aye.
It's I think snubbed for Best Picture. I think it's an injustice that Maestro got a nomination and that didn't. I think it's a brilliant film. It has got Best International Feature nomination. Spanish film about a Uruguayan plane crash. It's a true story. Like a university rugby team and their friends and family crashes in the Andes on top of a mountain. And so it's about the survivors of the crash basically just trying to live until such time comes where the snow can get not as horrific that they can possibly walk and try and walk to safety or like just do something. It's just them surviving with no real plan, but like we have to stay alive.
Wow.
And it's really, really well done. Really well directed. J.A. Bayona, I think is the name of the guy. He did Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
I loved that one.
I actually did like it. And I think it is considerably better directed than the Colin Trevorrow ones. Really great film. Sometimes quite sad and harrowing. But it's one of these true stories where it's like, if it wasn't true, you wouldn't believe it necessarily, because they're very good at surviving. Some of them are. The ones that die aren't.
And they're still out there in their Society of Snow. Like, how did they build that from just snow? That's crazy.
They got like an ice fort going on now, like hamsters.
That's a big igloo, that is.
Right, I'd recommend that, definitely. 4.5 stars.
Ooh.
Next up, I've got Nyad. That's nominated for Best Actress for... Is it Annette Bening?
Don't know that. Let me give it a go.
That's the name. And Best Supporting Actress for Jodie Foster. It's about a woman.
Oh, here we go. What is it? 2024. Call the woke police.
And she's a lesbian. She's in her 60s. She wants to swim from Cuba to Florida, which is a humongous distance. It's like 3 days consecutive swimming, no sleep, just swimming for 3 days.
Wow.
Everyone says this is physically impossible, and also you're in your 60s and a woman. And she's like, I don't give a shit, I'm going to do it anyway. And so it's about her trying to do it.
Wow.
And it's fine as a movie. The acting's very good.
Yeah.
I can see why they were nominated, but yeah, the movie's fine. It's kind of what you expect it to be.
And I saw it's got the lizard in as well.
Oh yeah, Rhys Evans. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Does that help? Does that help in the plot at all? Is that relevant that he's the lizard?
He never becomes a lizard in that movie.
But why?
Say...
But why would you not use it if you can do it?
It might be a prequel. Actually, I think it's a prequel. I can't remember what it's set.
Okay, is that the post credits?
Oh, maybe it's saying like it's sort of 2010ish. So maybe it was just before. He went to New York and became a lizard and attacked
Okay,
Spider-Man.
I'm with you. All right, that makes sense. I mean, we are in Madame Webruary, so we do need to start getting in the mindset for it.
Oh God, I don't want to watch that movie, but I feel like we'll have to. Right, my next film is I Am Here ... Space Now, which is a Neil Breen film. If you've seen a Neil Breen film, you know what they are. If not, there's no point in me explaining. It's really weird.
5 out of 5.
It's really bad. 10 stars. Next, I watched Sinister.
Sinister 6.
No,
With
just
Madame
Sinister.
Web.
No, this is with Ethan Hawke. He goes to a house. People are murdered in that house. He's a writer. He's investigating stuff. Spooky man tries to kill him. It was really interesting when I thought it was a serial killer thing, and then it's revealed to be like a supernatural thing, and I'm like, don't care about this. And then the ending is really anticlimactic. Would watch it if I were you.
I shan't.
2.5 stars. It's quite scary, so I gave it some stars. Right, Borat. Phenomenal film.
Yeah,
hilarious.
5 out of 5.
I absolutely love it. 5 out of 5. Okay, that's the weekly roundup from me.
Wow. Yay!
Yay! Watch Society of the Snow. It's really good.
Wow. Matthew Vaughn. He's sure done it again, hasn't he?
He's made a movie.
He's made a film, and this film is Argylle, 2024. As mentioned at the start of the episode, but we do know a lot of people like to skip past us talking a lot of bollocks. So here it is again. This week we will be doing Argylle, maybe a little bit of Kingsman in there as well, because there's a lot of overlap there. It'd be good to compare them, which will be funny and lighthearted. And then for those film buffs out there, we will be talking about Zone of Interest in a respectful manner that does not include what? Not in that way. A respectful manner that is befitting of the tone of the film. Before we get onto that, before I get ahead of myself, Matt, what was the plot?
Oh God, of Argylle. Who knows? It is about a woman who is an author. She's written a spy thriller series called Argylle, and she's trying to write the ending of the 4th book. Normally her ideas just come to her like this, and then she's like, I'll end this one in a cliffhanger. Her mum's like, that's ridiculous, this is a terrible ending. And she tries to think of an ending, can't think of one. And maybe it's because they're actually real, these suppressed memories.
Ooh.
And so she's on the train, and she meets a guy who is from like a spy agency. So he says, and he has a bit of a scrap, and she's like, oh no, this is real, what? So my writings happen for real? And then the movie happens, and it just won't stop happening, and it just keeps going on. And then they just do a twist, and they do another twist, and I don't care. And they keep going, and it's really bad. And that was Argylle.
So first up, let's talk about the big thing surrounding this film. Henry Cavill's haircut. Yay or nay?
Yeah. It wasn't good, but it was iconic. It got people talking.
It looks
and that's
like
a good thing.
I get it. It looks like the guy from Street Fighter.
It looks like a cartoon spy,
it
but
looks
in
like,
live action.
If you've seen any
like
army man in a
Fighter.
cartoon where it's just like they've taken a razor, electric razor, and just cut the top off of the hair, so it's like dead flat. That's what it's supposed to.
I mean,
look
you
like.
do get like flat top hairstyles and stuff like that, but they're never that tall.
They're never that tall, and they're never like you see a figure of Argylle, and it looks a lot better. because it's like filled in at the top, but his is like feathered, and it looks so bad.
First of all, I will say, so I'm actually a big Matthew Vaughn fan. I had high hopes for this. He did not meet my expectations. Actually, I've been a fan of Matthew Vaughn since high school because I in film studies in A level. We had to like write an essay on, or do a piece of work. I can't remember exactly what it was, on a director of our choice, and we had to write about 3 of their films, and I chose Matthew Vaughn. So I did like Kick-Ass, Kingsman, and X-Men First Class, and
they are great.
These great films.
They're great films. Stardust.
I've never seen Stardust or Layer Cake.
Stardust is underrated. It's great.
Most people don't really like Kingsman 2 very much, although I think we all appreciate there's good moments. I think it's obviously worse than the first one, but I think it's still a pretty good film. And I like The Kingsman as well, as a sort of less funny Kingsman. I did listen to the latest episode of Chris Stuckman's podcast, which he's a guest on, and it's like, wow, this guy is he came from a lot of money and he got a lot of privilege and just got everything handed to him in life. But but he is a great director, I think. My main problem with this film is the fact that he wasted his time making this rather than doing Kingsman 3, and they're trying to do a trilogy and no one wants that, and it's not needed.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree. Matthew Vaughn, you don't really know him. If you don't know him, then you don't know him. You wouldn't be able to say name 3 Matthew Vaughn films, because he, other than you, who did an essay on it. Yeah,
who did on 3 Matthew Vaughn films. Yeah,
he's got this oeuvre of work that isn't overly coherent. They're kind of similar in vibes, like Kick-Ass and Kingsman and X-Men First Class. You'd be like, oh, that makes sense. They're all by the same guy. But it's not like, oh, this is a Matthew Vaughn film. I can tell this is a Matthew Vaughn film.
Oh, I think you absolutely can.
Really?
But like, he's just not as famous, maybe, as you can tell it's a Tarantino film. I think he's like, when you see his fight scenes, it's like, this is so Matthew Vaughn. Like, shots that are stitched together in the most obvious way. Like, really bad, like, digi-doubles to combine shots, or like, just... And all of his fight scenes are like, there's no motion blur. They almost look like an animation. Yeah. Very, very wide lens, long shots. A needle drop that worked in previous films and maybe not so much in this one. And a sort of a light-hearted comedic tone throughout, and some rude jokes. No, I think he's very much got a style. And I think that's kind of why, in the past... when he's done things like Kingsman felt fresh. It felt like
Kingsman
he took the spy genre,
especially our generation. I feel like Kingsman came out and it was just the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love Kingsman. I think it's so good. And yeah, it felt fresh because he shot action scenes where he hadn't been done before. That church scene, everyone was talking about it. There's an ultra-violent spy film, pub scene, yeah. And so when this, I think Argylle is kind of, rather than him being like, okay, I'm going to do something different, I'm going to reinvent a genre, I feel like he's kind of like, okay, well, these things are popular for me, my long fight scenes, my needle drops, my sort of sense of humour, my spy stuff. Like, and so he just did what was popular with him in the past. Yeah. He didn't do anything fresh or original. Kingsman's so iconic, there's so many moments, there's, manners maketh man, and the suits and the Eggsy being, there's loads of like really iconic stuff with it, even down to like... Samuel L. Jackson's villain, his like silly lisp, and the knife feet, and just everything. In this, I don't feel like very much was like iconic. I won't remember the characters. There's like the diamond shape motif is
a diamond
in it a lot.
Yep.
The silly hairstyle, the backpack with the cat in.
Yeah. So interestingly, I would say
I don't remember the rest.
One of the things that makes Kingsman work so well is that it has something interesting to say. Whether that's about class in the UK, because that's like a big theme in the film, as well as being a spy film. You're following Eggsy through this new world. He's very much from like a council estate, joining this high society. So it's a great film with something to say. It's not very deep in what it says, but it has something to say. Argylle has none of that at all. No. So let's talk about the story and how it doesn't do anything new. Argylle is, you follow Ellie Conway, who is a writer, and she's predicting all of these world events. So as a log line there, you'd think, well, okay, that sounds really boring, because that's kind of the point, that she's a bad fiction writer, so is writing bad fiction, and you're kind of following that through. What does he do with that to make it unique and interesting and make sure it doesn't just become one of those boring spy films? Nothing. He does
Nothing.
not.
I don't feel like the Argylle, I don't know what it's called, the like spy agency in Argylle is not at all interesting or original. They've just got like the man in the chair, they've got the suit wearing or like fancy dress wearing spies. It's just Kingsman, but with everything unique and interesting taken out of it.
I thought that I thought they were going to say that she was a bad writer, two-dimensional, unimaginative, but is like predicting these events. And she then joins the world, and although she's kind of loosely following the plot, she got most of it wrong. Or there is another layer of depth, or there's something in there that makes it more interesting. But yeah, as you said, it's just like bland and
she's not even meant to be a bad writer. Like we only ever see her be really popular. Like she's got a huge fan base.
She's like J.K. Rowling without being a TERF.
Yeah,
classic.
Well, she might be. We never know.
True.
What do you think about her as a character then? Because, you know, Eggsy, super likeable and original and iconic, and we want to see more movies from him. What do you think about Ellie Conway? Because this was very much like marketed as like, this is a Henry Cavill movie with Dua Lipa.
It's not at all.
Because I remember that's what everyone was talking about. Like, it's the new Henry Cavill spy movie when it was announced like 2 years ago. And Amar, who was working on it, was like, I don't know why they all saying this. Like, the leads are Bryce Dallas Howard and
Sam Rockwell.
What's his name? Sam Rockwell. Yeah. He's like, it's not. He's not really in it very much.
Yeah. I think it's hard, but Matthew Vaughn, like, it's been written for him. She has no agency in the story, and that's just how it's written. She works for a spy agency. No. I mean,
it's not. I don't know what it's called.
I think this is a classic misunderstanding. She
does work for an agent. She's an agent, a secret agent.
She is just dragged along by Sam Rockwell from place to place, and the reason she is brought along is because they want her to write the next chapter to predict where this MacGuffin is.
But when the plot twists are revealed, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But we'll get to that. So yeah, I didn't like the character. She just kind of
nothing.
moaned. Yeah.
And if they want to do like at least a trilogy out of it, like I don't.
Yeah.
Why would I care? Matthew Vaughn was saying in an interview I saw that this is meant to be like the fourth book, and then he wants to do like 1, 2, and 3 before like prequels, like Star Wars. And it's like, stop! No, don't do that. Make Kingsman 3 or make something new. This is whatever.
Maybe what I didn't like about the character as well. On top of that, I thought Bryce Dallas Howard was so bad in this. I thought she was terrible.
I didn't think she like acted bad. I think she just didn't have like any charisma at all.
Well, if you imagine
writing,
so before it all gets silly, she is a meek writer from Middle America, who is thrust into this spy world, right? So, all intents and purposes, she's just a normal woman. She does not behave like a normal woman thrown into a spy scenario. I would be pooing myself if I saw this fight scene happening on the train of people trying to kill me, and she's just kind of there going, ooh, like, what are you doing?
I think also I don't like how I mean, it's part of Matthew Vaughn's like really clean, perfect like aesthetic in his movies, but I don't like how she had like perfect hair and makeup, and like she looks like, you know, attractive for, you know, a woman in her 40s. She's very like, I wish it was like a normal looking. Right, the writer character was just a normal looking person, maybe even a bit older. Like, I don't know. Yeah, if everyone else around them is like a sort of perfectly put together spy, it'd be quite nice if she looked like. Authors are like behind the. Well, it's not really a camera, but they're you know, they're not meant to be seen in public apart from when they're doing like talks. So it's sort of, she didn't seem like she was out of place in this world, like visually, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but I think she should have done.
I gave this 2.5 as a little spoiler. A singular star in this is for Sam Rockwell, because I think he steals everything he's in and is very quickly becoming my favourite actor of all time.
I think he's good. Yeah, I mean, his character, I won't remember him.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like, I won't remember him. But yeah, I mean, Sam Rockwell's always good. He makes up for the lack of charisma that Bryce Dallas Howard has.
And the scene on the train, so a couple of the action scenes in this, you have Bryce Dallas Howard watching Sam Rockwell in fight scenes, and he is being swapped out with Henry Cavill. So, like, she's fantasizing the agent Argylle in the place of Sam Rockwell. And oh boy, does Sam Rockwell completely outact Henry Cavill. Like, noticeably.
I think
Sam
that's
Rockwell
kind
is
of the
a much
point
better
because,
actor.
well, Henry Cavill's meant to be just a fictional character and he's meant to be more a stereotypical James Bond. I mean, Matthew Vaughn said he cast him because he wanted someone who could easily be James Bond, but just he wanted to snatch him before Bond did. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point that he's... And when he's doing like silly smirks and that, whereas like Sam Rockwell's like screaming and reacting
Acting,
to...
you could say.
Yeah, acting. I think that's kind of the point. Can Henry Cavill act? I mean, I've never seen him do anything apart from one-dimensional heroes. I've only ever seen him as like Superman, and I've seen him as Geralt in like 3 episodes of The Witcher.
I think there's a reason why he hasn't been given anything bigger than, well, anything more complex.
But what characters that are that big and muscular and that have personalities, really?
Look at Dave Bautista. He can act.
The Rock. That's true, yeah, but he deliberately these days is trying to... His agents are really pushing him to do like actual acting.
He's good. Get Henry Cavill to actually act and prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Come on, Henry.
He should do, really, because he doesn't have Superman or Geralt to do anymore.
He doesn't. He's got Warhammer.
God, I forgot about that. That's going to get cancelled after one film.
So there were some fun moments. I did like points of it. I think the first half is a lot stronger, where it's more of a...
Yeah, I agree.
Tracking down a MacGuffin, place to place. You're always on the move. Like, I thought the head stomp bit between them was quite funny.
That was quite good.
A little bonding moment that then comes back at the end. Catherine O'Hara, always great. She's very funny. Bryan Cranston was a bit of a letdown, really, but I don't think he was given a lot to work with.
Considering Bryan Cranston, in my opinion, has given the greatest acting performance of all time as Walter White.
As man in this.
He was kind of just nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
but the characters were nothing. It was just when a film is like a setup that it's all about twists. You kind of see the twists. It's a bit like M. Night Shyamalan's films now. Like, you expect a twist, so you can see it coming. Watching The Visit, I never thought for a second that they were the real grandparents. It's sort of, a twist's going to come. And so I kind of got quite sus of...
But this has so many twists that you can't predict all the twists.
But you stop caring after a certain amount.
It's like a flump. It's got so many twists. This is the flump of spy films.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, in terms of comedy as well, I mean, I didn't really laugh at all.
No, nor did I.
Since we're talking about cast, Dua Lipa, I can't pretend to know her music. The only song I know is the one that's in Barbie, Dance the Night Away. But I'm sure she's done others that I know, but I don't know. I didn't know she did it. As soon as she spoke, I was like, she is not an actor.
Oh my God, I thought exactly the same thing. She was like, "Are you the real Agent Argylle? Can you speak normally? Speak like a normal person. Why are you trying to speak really sexily? What are you doing?"
But it wasn't sexy. Because Henry Cavill, I mean, we just said like how he doesn't seem to be amazing. Like, he was very much out acting her, which doesn't say great things about her. And the fact she was all over the marketing and she's in like the first 5 minutes.
Oh God, yeah. This ain't no Kingsman. Go and watch Kingsman. I would not recommend this to anyone.
Did you see all the social media stuff about who possibly wrote this?
No.
I think it's been like disproved. Well, it has been disproved. It definitely was never this person.
It was Tarantino.
No. So when it was like first announced, they said it's based on a book by a first-time author. Like the book in the movie, they were going to release that first. They possibly did, but it was meant to come out like 2 years ago, and then it got pushed back loads. And they said Matthew Vaughn saying like, "Oh, I read the script and it was genius. It reinvented the whole thing." Basically, there was a TikTok trend, like conspiracy theory, that loads of people bought. That this was written.
Sorry, just to hold you there. A what? Yeah. Sorry, I thought you'd never go on TikTok.
No, so I actually found out about this through YouTube.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, I did.
Carry on.
Yeah, I did. But lots of people thought this movie was written by Taylor Swift. I'm not gonna lie, the evidence is few and far between, but people were very like on board with the idea that she wrote like a spy movie or wrote a spy book. And because she's Taylor Swift, it got commissioned. Everyone was saying how amazing it is and how perfect she is, and it's not, and she's not. And it's just there's little stupid bits of evidence. I think she like started like Argylle Studios or something like that, and she was wearing that sort of pattern on her clothes, even though it's quite a
she wore a diamond once.
Quite a common pattern. There was more so-called evidence, and people in the comments, whenever they were like talking news about the film, like people said, "Oh, this is so like 1985." What was it called 1989? Like coded.
Yeah.
People would say like, "Oh, this is so clearly Taylor's. Why are you lying? Why?" They thought it was ghostwritten. It's not. The book was
Imagine
written
that
by a
being
woman.
a ghost written by Taylor Swift.
People investigated it. It was ghostwritten by a woman called Tammy Cohen. And then the screenplay was by some other fella. Can't remember his name.
Some other fella who did Ice Age, Continental Drift, and Wonder Woman #1.
Well,
Wow.
at least it wasn't Wonder Woman #2.
Would you recommend people to watch this?
No.
No. Great.
No.
Big question. Who is Agent Argylle? Let's jump into spoilers and take a deep dive.
Agent Argylle? Don't you mean Agent Argylle?
I wanted to pass away. I wanted to simply die.
I didn't mind that. I don't know. I didn't mind it. But what I did dislike is that Argylle anyway is with one L, and then
Yes.
Kyle is with one L. Why did they spell it like this?
Why? Yeah, why? I don't know.
And so that was a thought that went through my head during that
to
scene.
throw you off. That's why.
I guess so. Yeah. So I didn't hate that, but I obviously could see the name thing. I didn't hate, but I could see the twist that she was the agent coming. Well, ever since the film was announced, to be honest, it wasn't really a twist.
Yeah, no. So
And that's why we were saying about how it doesn't make sense that the baddies, well, and the goodies, are trying to work out what she writes next to predict the future, because we find out that her writings, they were never predicting the future, predicting real events. They were just her real memories. This is the past. So why would she then suddenly become clairvoyant? I guess she could reveal plans to the baddies that they didn't know about, but she doesn't.
was this next chapter to find out where the bullet is, where the USB is, because she forgot it. I think that's why they're trying to get her to write one more chapter.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
So from the spoilers bit, we'll be talking about the midpoint onwards, because I think that's where it completely falls apart. And what was the midpoint? The French bit with Samuel L. Jackson, whether at the farm, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say that's a midpoint. Yeah, because that's when it reveals
Yes.
who she is.
So that's when Sam Rockwell, he changes gears from being interesting, or as interesting as he can be, as engaging as he can be, into exposition machine. And not only explains who the villains are, he explains who she is, how she forgot her memory, how they were part of the same team, but then betrayed the villains to become a goodie, what they need to do, why they need to do it, and it feels like it lasts for about 40 minutes.
It does.
This scene.
And it's also, he was so much fun in the action scenes, and then he suddenly doesn't do them, and it's just Bryce Dallas Howard now. Well, Bryce Dallas Howard's stunt double. Yeah, it's... Well, not that it wasn't Sam Rockwell's too.
So, spoilers. What's her name? Ellie Conway is not a writer. She is Agent Argylle, but actually her name is Rachel Kyle. Kyle.
Whoa.
Yeah. And do you know how they
Crazy.
find out? It's because Sam Rockwell throws a punch at her and she dodges it. So she's like, I'm Kyle. I wished he punched her in the face. That would have been fun.
But then, how do her memories come back? It's literally just from them telling her.
Yeah.
But why would they all just come back?
So, yeah. Okay, from midpoint, that tells me Ellie Conway as a character is boring and the story does not care about her, because she almost immediately remembers everything and goes back to being a spy. Like, she's no longer Ellie Conway until the end for the epilogue.
Totally different character.
Completely different.
And I hated her. I thought she was really bad in the second half. Yeah.
Rachel Kyle was...
No personality, so bland, such a bland character.
At least Ellie Conway, like, do the bit where she's not the agent anymore. Say that she's gone completely, this Rachel Kyle, and she was like a villain. So she's changed and is now completely positive. She was planning on betraying Sam Rockwell, but that's not her anymore. And then have Ellie Conway having to embrace this world and kind of grow as a character, not change into someone completely different.
Yeah. How did they do it in Men in Black 2 when... Because Kay, chooses to forget that he was in Men in Black. He works in a post office.
He does.
And then he comes back to it. But I can't remember how they make him get his memories back. Does Will Smith just tell him? But when I was watching this movie, I was just thinking of Men in Black 2 the whole time.
So that was a twist. Then there was a second twist that she double-crossed the goodies. She double-crossed the goodies and gets herself blown up, and then wakes up in the hospital and gets brainwashed by Catherine O'Hara and Bryan Cranston to become Ellie Conway, which Sam Rockwell doesn't help with. He just watches her for 5 years.
Yeah, why don't the goodies just kidnap her and be like, yes, so you're actually not this?
Why did they wait for her to write
they just watch
4
it?
Books?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get it. I don't.
And they would never
understand.
know that she was going to write the books anyway.
It's so contrived.
And it's so against their revealing all their secrets. They don't want that.
No,
it makes literally no sense why they just would let that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think maybe they thought, oh well, she would just die in action. She's our friend. We'll let her retire in peace.
But then even the villains, why would they let her write a book about all of their inner workings?
I guess because she might reveal other secrets that they want to know. But yeah, she's going to reveal stuff about the baddies, the goodies too.
Even to the public. When it comes out that it's all real, what? It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it didn't.
And then there was a twist that Rachel Kyle and Sam Rockwell were actually together. That's another shocking twist. Another twist is that she was actually helping the baddies, didn't double cross the baddies, and then the other twist is that she was actually helping the goodies the whole time. Yeah. So she quadruple crossed them.
My brain just switched off during this whole bit because it's on the boat. It was just I'm a goodie, I'm a baddie, I'm a goodie, I'm a baddie. I'm like, can just wake me up when we find out what she actually is.
And then Catherine O'Hara can also mind control her using a music box that comes up for a scene. What?
Yeah.
And we get a character that comes back from the dead.
Anyway, she resists it anyway, so it doesn't. Oh my god! Yeah, I mean, because the first time that Matthew Vaughn brought a character back from getting shot in the head, that went down so well with audiences. Ariana DeBose gets shot in the heart. I wonder what's going to happen to her. There's no stakes if you don't follow through with stuff.
You get the flashback.
Ariana DeBose is pretty famous now. That was a very small role, but I guess because they wanted for the sequels. The sequels which are not getting made.
So when it's revealed that she is Argylle, whereas before you see these set pieces from Henry Cavill's with Henry Cavill in them, and then you get flashbacks.
Henry Cavill and Sam Rockwell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see the hacker lady getting shot in the heart, and you see that with Henry Cavill, and you see that with Bryce Dallas Howard. Fine.
Yeah.
You see them at the cafe with Dua Lipa, with Henry Cavill, and with Bryce Dallas Howard. Why don't you see Bryce Dallas Howard driving a Jeep over rooftops, which is supposed to be real life? Does that not happen? At what point is that real? Is that not real? You don't see her
that was meant to have happened, but I don't think we see it. We see them sitting at the cafe at the end of that sequence.
So, but then you don't see these silly bits, which are very clearly written as over the top fictional. How do we parody James Bond?
Yeah.
So what, that actually happened? You're telling me that happened in this real life world that they're in?
I found it confusing how so Sam Rockwell is actually meant to be John Cena, not Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But then he's still in the final act. He's still dressed like Henry Cavill. He's got his hair like Henry Cavill. And then Bryce Dallas Howard is dressed like Dua Lipa, but she's actually Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And it's okay, I get that she thought that she was... Well, she didn't think she was Dua Lipa.
She thought she was Dua Lipa.
She knows at this point that she's Henry Cavill, and Sam Rockwell has always known that he's John Cena. So why is he dressing like his friend in the fictional version of his friend rather than dressing like himself?
Yeah. And it's not even it's not mentioned. It's not well, I'm trying to take on the hero role, so I'm dressing like your favourite character. Although
I guess anyway, they're inspired by Henry Cavill because at the end it's revealed that Henry Cavill was a real person anyway.
I got flashbacks to is it Terminator 2? You know, the deleted post credits where they explain how the T-800 has got Arnold's body, and it's this one shot of Arnold in an army uniform speaking with a southern accent, and he's like Sergeant Candy or something, saying that he's getting body scanned to turn into a T-800. I
don't mind that as a piece of lore, but it's just if it's not got a place in the story, which it clearly doesn't, then it doesn't need to be mentioned.
Yeah, what is it we're doing? I could
see a Terminator film being the real guy who he was based on.
Yeah, get Henry Cavill for Terminator. He'd be good. He's dead behind the eyes.
Yeah, he probably could be an alright new Terminator.
Yeah, because
he's quite old now. They just have to CGI him. That's a twist.
There is a post credits in this for the Argylle CU, the ACU, which I know we both got tattooed before this came out and regret it now it's happened. which features a young British lad going into a British pub at some point in the past, and he says, "Hello, sir, could I have a Cosmopolitan?" And the bartender looks at him and is like, "You cannot get them here." And he then does a code word and gets handed a gun. And then the bartender's like, "What's your name?" And he says, "My name is Argylle," I think. I think that's what he says.
Okay.
And then it says, "This will be our next film," and it's actually book 1 in Argylle, but it's actually Kingsman because the pub's called the Kingsman.
The pub's called the Kingsman, yeah. I heard it was like, yeah, it shows they're set in the same universe.
Who cares?
Well, look, I'm all for doing a Kingsman franchise, but can we please have more Kingsman films in it and less Argylle films?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it doesn't matter because it's never going to
Doesn't
happen.
matter.
They're not getting a sequel.
No,
How
no.
much has it made at the box office? I mean, it only came out a few
Nothing.
days ago, but
I think we're the only
nothing.
people
I don't
to
think
see it.
anyone's watched it. It's got. Well, I put on a poll on YouTube. I should probably have waited a few more days, but like, what did you think of Argylle? And everyone who isn't us has voted didn't see it. And there are people who did see it are not giving it good reviews. It's not getting a sequel.
No.
And that's a good thing.
I don't know if this wound you up as much as it did me. When John Cena and Henry Cavill were in London, so this is happening while Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard are sat at the bench at the Albert Memorial. And Henry Cavill and John Cena get into a black car, don't they, and start hacking.
Yeah.
That's just a unit car. They didn't even try and hide that. It's just a big Mercedes unit car. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's so bad.
Something I thought was really weird. I noticed it right at the start, and then I was like, okay, but I guess that was a dream, so it doesn't matter. And then it carried on throughout the whole movie. It's like they had no budget for essays. Everywhere is like huge public spaces. No one's there.
Yeah. Even
Like,
the unit car bit, it's an empty street in the middle of London.
Yeah, London is like just empty. I mean, I first noticed, I was like, this is really weird. In Greece, in the opening, like, well, first of all, that party was dead as fuck. There was no one in there. But then they were going down the streets, and there was not a single pedestrian, not a single, like, there was some parked cars, no other cars on the road. It's like, what is happening here? This is like, this is a beautiful place. This would be a huge tourist attraction, let alone like locals. There was no one there. Then it was like, okay, well, this is fictional. Guess it doesn't matter too much.
That's because it's all shot in a studio in the UK. That's why.
Well, yeah, and it's all blue screen and stuff.
Blue
But
screen.
they could put CGI. They could put some Sims in. And yeah, and then like London. It's just dead streets. It just reminded me of like when you watch like old Doctor Who's and they like lock off some streets but they can't afford any extras and so it's just empty.
It's just such a long film.
That final like ice skating bit, like what the hell was
it
that?
went on for so long.
Can you skate on like
crude oil?
Oil, yes, yeah. So can you skate? So it was like a concrete, or like, well, it was on a ship, so I guess it was like a metal floor with a layer of oil. Can you attach 2 knives to your feet somehow?
Yeah, just
and then
put knives on
she
your
just
feet.
puts them there, and they're just suddenly perfect ice skates.
Yeah.
And then she glides across liquid over a metal floor. What the hell? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I get that you can have scenes be a little bit more heightened, but that's just like
silly.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's just ridiculous.
And do you know what else wound me up? Talking about silly, a lot of the marketing in this is based on the cat in the bag, right? Because don't let the cat out of the bag. It has no relevance to the plot at all.
The cat doesn't do anything.
I
thought he'd be like a sort of goose character in Captain Marvel.
Or like it
He'd
has
have some funny little moments.
It has the microchip up its bum or something. Like, like she subconsciously
it'd be like
had
Men
a
in
cat
Black 1,
and put
like
it in the
with
cat.
Orion's, what's on Orion's belt, and Orion's name of the cat, and it's on his like. There's none of that at all. Yeah,
it's just there.
The cat does not need to be in it. But I thought they'd have some comic relief. Maybe some bits were meant to be funny with him, but it wasn't. It was just a bland cat who did nothing. He just sat there the whole movie. I gave it 2 stars. Yeah, really, I didn't like it. I was really let down. I mean, even when it was announced, I was a bit like, oh, fuck's sake, just doing more Kingsman films, don't do this. But it looked like it could be promising, and the names attached, I was like, okay, this could be good. Yeah. Unfortunately,
Swing and a miss.
It really wasn't good.
Swing and a miss. Gave it 2.5. It has some interesting set pieces. Sam Rockwell is great when he's not doing exposition, but it's way too long, way too contrived, and at least the middle 40 minutes is just exposition. Lazy, very lazy. Argylle, more like, are you
ready for some cursed double features.
Cursed double features.
Oh boy, God, I love this segment so much.
Wowee.
Mine aren't as good as last week.
Your ones last week popped off, and any of those TikTok followers out there, I know we don't have any because we have 4, but they've been doing very well on TikTok. People have been lolling at you.
Yay, that's good. I'll check that out. Okay, well, mine aren't very good, so good to get them out of the way.
Okay.
So I've got Argylle the film and Argylle the character from Stranger Things because neither of them are coming back for a sequel. Did you hear? He's not in the last season. And Argylle and Cats because the cats added nothing positive to the movie and it would be better without them.
So I've got 3 for Argylle. Argylle and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. They're both Henry Cavill films that over-explain what's going on like you're a stupid child.
Yeah. I haven't seen it because I used to watch the old TV series when I was younger. My mum's a huge fan, and she was just boycotting the new one.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Well, she like just massively fancied Dave McCallum, and this is Armie Hammer instead, which is a bit of a downgrade because he is a cannibal.
When you get to the end, to the climax, a scene happens where it shows you a piece of information.
Yeah,
and then the following scene, they then flash back to the previous scene to show again what happened to make sure you didn't forget. Yeah. Pretty good.
I love it when they do that. I love that in Joker when it was immediately obvious when she was like, "Who are you?" that he had been imagining having a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then they just have to flash back to every day. Oh, no, she's not there. He was there on his own. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. But cheers for that.
I got Argylle and See How They Run. They both have Sam Rockwell in, and both looked really interesting with big, interesting casts.
Yeah.
But were very boring and let everyone down.
Yeah, I didn't like See How They Run.
And then finally, I got Argylle and Enola Holmes. Films advertised as having Henry Cavill in a lot, but don't.
I only watched like the first 20 minutes of the first Enola Holmes, and I noped the hell out of there.
Oh, you said, although I love you, Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, you
that's
are
a no
my
from
favourite. Right, I've got a couple of Kingsman ones, but they're not very good. I've got Kingsman and Red State because they both have some pretty killer church scenes.
Oh, why? What do you mean by that?
Some people get executed in a church in Red State.
Sick.
Yeah. And Kingsman and I've mentioned this already twice. Men in Black because they both feature.
Ooh.
Because they both feature a pug that works for a smartly dressed secret agency. There's our cursed double features. Do you want the tone to drop now?
And I was going to go to serious mode there.
Well, I was just going to say, if you don't want to hear us talk about Zone of Interest, get all serious.
Yes,
that's fair enough. Bye. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
For those of you
a lovely episode.
Yeah, it was all right.
We do have time codes, so skip to the end, and we will talk about next week.
But now we're going to talk about the Zone of Interest, which is Jonathan Glazer's new film. Do you want to give it a bit of a summary for people?
Yes. So the Zone of Interest follows the commandant of Auschwitz, Rudolf Hoss, and his wife Hedwig, who live in a house attached to Auschwitz, and their aims to build a lovely family life there. I haven't researched this before talking about it, so I'm going purely off of the film.
Yeah.
I don't know how true to life it is. I know Rudolf Hoss was a real guy.
Yeah.
And I know the things that he did were very real. But how attached his house was to Auschwitz, I don't know.
No, I don't know if they shot in the same house. I think they shot in the same area. But the house looks exactly the same. I've seen photos of it. Yeah, there's people who live there now. You think, I don't know why you'd want to live there.
Oh my God.
But it looks exactly the same, apart from there was a modern TV. Well, it wasn't modern, it was a 90s one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it was a pretty accurate representation. Because there's the big walls, and you see the roofs of some of the buildings of Auschwitz.
Yeah,
and
you see
some
the chimneys and the
that.
smokestacks.
I think in real life, I remember there was a big tree in the garden that they deliberately put there so you couldn't see the chimneys. But maybe there was some small. Maybe that was just a big near one that you could still see other ones. Because at night in the film, the orange light from the flames from that, illuminates the whole house really through the curtains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did know a bit about it beforehand. I knew about Rudolf Hoss. I knew how I thought that it would show how the end of the war, basically, how that happened when the camp was liberated, and how Rudolf Hoss died. I knew that going into it. I kind of thought that would be covered in it. Do you want me to just tell you?
He got hanged, didn't he?
He got hanged, yeah.
Is that right?
But it was So basically, when everything was going bad for the Germans, they kind of knew they'd lost, and so I think it was Himmler. It was one of the like top German people told him like disguise yourself as a regular German soldier as like a gardener for the army, and so he disguised himself as a gardener. But I think they were still like they knew he was in this area, so they were sort of interrogating everyone. I think he looked a bit like him, and they saw he was wearing a wedding ring, and they made him take the wedding ring off, and he was like, no, I don't want to, and they did, and it said like Hoss on the inside, so they knew that was him.
What a twat.
But yeah, he got found out slightly later. Oh, that's how they found out who I was, because his family I think still lived in Auschwitz, or at least they knew where they were. And they tortured his son, and so Hedwig, his wife, gave up where he was, and so God. They were like, and so that's how I found him. And then obviously Nuremberg trials, and he was hanged.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that would be in the movie because, like, obviously that's such a big part of the story. But I guess at the same time, it's like it's not a biopic about Rudolf Hoss and his family.
Yeah.
That's not the point. So I kind of get why it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I did think maybe the part for me that was a bit like I'm not sure about this is it. The story, it just kind of stopped. Like, I'm not really sure why the film ended there.
So yeah, I was going to say that actually. So, not knowing about him, and it kind of ends with the implication that he has a form of cancer or something, with him coughing. So
is that what you... okay. That's not at all how I interpreted it.
I was like, so is it implying that he doesn't get justice, that he dies of cancer and doesn't face justice for what he did? But then he got hanged, so I'm not entirely sure why he goes to the doctors and gets felt kind of around the bowels, and he coughs up, I don't know if he coughs up blood or like violently coughs the last time you see him.
So my interpretation of that, which is totally different, and I think I might be wrong, I thought that was just meant to show, because he's like gagging as well, he's like almost like he's sick. I thought that was like him having this like feeling so awful and like gagging and feeling disgusted was him having some humanity left in him and realizing that what he's doing is gross. And then the ending of the movie, when he's like almost sick after being in that meeting when they're talking about like how they're gonna like make the Holocaust like expand it to like get everyone, like he's almost sick, and then he pulls himself together and walks and carries on walking down like into a dark corridor into the shadows, and that's the end. So I think I interpreted that as he was
that
like,
makes a lot more sense, as
he was like, it shows all of these people in this meeting, they go off separate ways, they have humanity, they all kind of think like, is this wrong, is this really actually a horrible thing I'm doing? And then they all like, no, pull myself together, this is what we're doing, this is what we're told is the right thing, this is what's got security of my family, I'm just going to do it. And so that's how I interpreted it.
No, that makes a lot more sense, like, especially how he walks down into the darkness.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't seen the film, please go and watch it. It's so important. It's such an interesting but very hard watch.
Yeah.
One of the things that has made this film kind of as well received, it's not just like something like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So I know we mentioned last week that we were going to do a double feature between this and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So I watched The Boy in the Striped Pajamas before this, and I really didn't like it.
I would like to talk about it because people have very strong views on it.
Yes. So I thought it was very manipulative, and I thought it was very cheap in what it did. This is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
I
understand that you need to enter a story with a surrogate for the audience, and it makes sense that if you have a child moving to a new place whose dad is the commandant, you have to learn about Nazi Germany and have to learn about the camp and learn about the Jewish people. But as an audience, you don't need to be told that Nazis are bad. You don't need characters saying, well, I disagree with you. You don't need a Nazi soldier go, oh, well, those Jews smell even worse when they're burning. You don't need to say that. You as an audience, as a human being, value, you know that's bad. You don't need to be told that. And I thought it was very lazy. But in the zone of interest, you're not given that at all.
Yeah.
As there is one character, which is the mum.
She says a lot of similar things to that, though.
Yeah, any disagreement, but the rest of them just get on with it. Like, Hedwig is more involved in making this house lovely and building a family.
Yeah.
Hoss is about serving the Führer.
Yeah.
And as an audience, you don't need to be told how horrible it is.
Yeah,
That's
well,
not the point.
Hoss never seems like a villain, really. He just comes across as a
they're
normal man doing his
people,
job.
aren't they?
And I think that's kind of what
That's
is
scary.
so horrifying. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Is we just know what's happening, and we can hear in the distance.
You don't need Professor Lupin to act like a twat or to beat his kids or whatever. You don't need that.
I would like to talk about Boy in Striped Pajamas a little bit, because we studied it in school, and so we watched the film after we read the book. And I do think there are things it does well. I think the way it handles Nazis. I think the film is interesting about the attitudes of Nazis. I think as a portrayal of the Holocaust, it's not successful, and it's not historically accurate, and you know, all that. But I think in the way of showing how normal people can commit horrible acts, and how even, like, you know, the mum character in that is against it, but how she still doesn't fight against it. She just is complacent and just lets it happen. So I think as a sort of way of watching that and learning how a normal person can do with these awful things, and I think sort of humanizing them, I think is good, because I think if you do just take the attitude of like Nazis are one-dimensionally evil, then you're just going to be, if someone calls you out for like doing or saying bad things, you'll just be like, and say you're like a Nazi, you would just be like, well, no, I'm not, because they're one-dimensionally evil. That's not me. I know I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can see what makes them act like that, I think that's a very interesting and important thing to know. I think the film could have handled it better, but I think that part of it, I think, is important, and it's an interesting thing that they, in ways, do well. In other ways, not so much. But they do it a very different attitude here. They show, human. The Nazis are normal people, as it were, who do this awful stuff. They sort of show that same sort of thing in a different way.
I thought the most interesting character in this was Hedwig, was the wife.
Yeah.
Because you know what Hoss is about. You know why he does what he does. You know that he is a despicable, disgusting man. But his wife is just as aware and is just as exploitative. Like, the first time you see her, she has like armfuls of clothes from
like baby grows
prisoners. Yeah. And they're like, oh, pick one each.
That was so horrible. Yeah.
Really bad. And she is there for personal gain.
Yeah.
And out of ignorance.
Well, she's like profiting from it. And she's talking about at one point with her friends about there was some auction or something for someone who was sent to the Holocaust.
Curtains.
Who was and she's like, oh, I wanted them. Like, and it's completely trivializing the whole thing.
I mean, they use the there are very few Jewish characters in this film. Yeah. And the Jewish characters you see are from local villages, I think that's what they say.
Yeah.
They don't go to Auschwitz.
There's two girls,
local people.
There's two girls who work at the house.
Yeah.
And there's like, you see the odd like man.
And you see a gardener as well.
Yeah. But I don't even know if they have any lines, do they? I don't remember them ever talking.
Think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this gardener is using ashes from the factory to like fertilize the plants.
Because there's a really horrible scene where he's like doing all that, and you can hear a lot of like commotion in the camp in the background. It's really, and he's right next to the wall as well, and it's just a really big contrast. I mean, also you see a couple of the sons in like in bunk bed in bed. They're like got some gold teeth.
Oh yeah. But
yeah, I do think the bit of the movie I think that I was most like deflated was when she's putting the clothes. I thought they were like baby grows, but maybe they're just like children's clothes. She's putting on the table near the start, and as they have like her baby there, and he's like so loving, like that contrast
just crying
of like
the whole time. This baby, you never see it not crying.
But you know that this, you know, they're treating this baby so well, and then another baby which has obviously done nothing wrong, they're like murdering and stealing the clothes from, and just how that is nothing wrong with that to them is so shocking. I do think the most shocking parts of the movie, like almost like a horror film, is like the first half an hour, 45 minutes, where it is just that sort of slice of life, sort of heaven versus hell stuff.
One of the big things that leans into that, let's talk about the sound design and the score, which very much go hand in hand in this.
I think the score's fantastic, but
the score is great.
But most of the movie is unscored. It's only really the odd little moment. And
it's like 15 minutes worth. Yeah, so the way I read into the score was they come in, if you've seen Under the Skin, it's used very similarly.
Yeah,
they are
same
like
composer,
bursts of sound. And for me, it was almost like a reminder that you're not watching a documentary.
Yeah.
Because it's presented in such a fly-on-the-wall manner that it could almost be you're just watching edited together footage from a family home.
Yeah.
But this blaring score to connect sequences really keeps that tone going. Not that you need anything to add to this horror feel, but it kind of just ties it all together, as well as the sound design.
Yeah, I thought what was so like interesting was it starts with like a long overture before any of the visuals come in. It's just black screen,
Yeah.
Which Under the Skin kind of has an overture where you're seeing like her eye and you're seeing her like I guess getting like made, and that's got a lot of music and it's just there to set the tone before we start.
Yeah.
But this, there's no visuals at all. It's just
Nothing.
You're just sitting in silence listening to Michael Levi's really like haunting score.
Yeah. And then it fades in with birds chirping, I think, when they're playing at the river together.
Yeah, the first shot is the one. I think it was the first picture they like released about this film. So them sitting by the like riverside.
Yeah. So what did you think about the sound design in this?
Oh, it was horrible. I mean, going into it, I heard that it was going to be. I thought it'd be like distorted and more horror-y, and actually, I think it's so. And I thought it'd be like in moments, but I think what was so effective is the entire movie. Any single time they're in the garden or even kind of in the house, you can still kind of hear it, is there's gunshots from every so often, there's a bit of screaming, there's dogs barking, there is like just sounds of the sounds of hell, basically.
Very industrial, yeah.
And it's never addressed. Like the characters having normal conversations, fun, happy family times, never ever addressed that this is going on behind the walls. And you can always hear it in the distance. And it feels really real. I really hope it wins Best Sound.
I think so.
I think it might.
Well deserving. Very hard to listen to, even when you've got there are kind of the odd shots of the youngest son like playing with his drum or with his soldiers.
There was a bit. Yeah, he looks out the window because at the sound. Yeah,
and he says like, "Don't do that" or something.
Yeah, and then he just goes straight back to playing. I think a big theme of this movie though sort of. It seemed like it is like heaven versus hell, basically, like the two of them next to each other, but it's as if. The sort of the injustice of they're in the wrong places.
Yeah.
The garden is all these beautiful flowers and there's an extended sequence where Hedwig's going like talking about every single one. Yeah. And at the end when well not that near the end, but when Rudolph is made to go work in Berlin, Hedwig really wants to stay there. You think the family would really not want to be anywhere there. They'd be forced to live there, but they want to live anywhere else. But no, she's so proud of her garden. She so loves her house. She loves what the family have there, and she obviously loves exploiting the labour.
She's proud that they call her the Queen of Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Thing I thought was very interesting. I wanted to hear your opinion on the use of fading to block colour in this.
I only remember that once, so it fades to red.
There's a blue bit as well. It fades to blue at one point.
I don't remember that.
Very black at the start. I think it fades to white.
Black and white. Yeah. I like that.
It almost just feels very overwhelming.
Because it's sort of that. Because also the score builds and the sort of the sound goes away, and the scene just blends from a normal scene into like just hell again, like just really horribleness.
And how about the negative color? Or it was like night.
I don't know what
vision?
it was. It almost looked like night vision or like a
It looked like negative
imaging.
film, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But then at the same time, like the sky, I kind of assumed that was taking place at night, and the sky was black. Maybe it was in the day, and it was that was a bright sky.
That was really interesting. Talking about your kind of heaven and hell theme.
Yeah,
that the house they live in is very white, it's very clean, it's very idyllic, and the only moment of like positivity or almost levity you get in this are from these almost negative film thermo imaging scenes from. I don't know if it was one of the housemaids from the town.
Yeah, see, I didn't understand those bits. I feel like they've got a lot of symbolism, but I never got them.
Yes. I read into it as it's one of the people working at the house who is stealing food, and I think there are two sequences where one, she's putting them into like mud.
Yeah, along a line.
They know workers would go out and start digging trenches or something, and then that's something that's gonna. It's the tiniest bit of food, but it's gonna help people survive just that bit longer, give them a better chance.
When they go, him and his son go like horse riding out, like and they do come across a pile of apples on the floor, and there's also later on there's some dialogue talking about how some men were fighting over an apple.
Oh yeah,
and then the second time they do that like night vision black and white thing, he's reading the story of Hansel and Gretel to his children as a bedtime story. and it's sort of as she's leaving the trail. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what that. I didn't know if it was like a metaphor, if it was literal, or I also thought it would have another bit. I'm surprised that when we never saw that again, because he sees her going into a house, but is that their house?
The second time you see it, is her leaving this trail behind shovels and things, and she finds a little metal tin with sheet music in.
Yeah,
and she rides back all in the pitch black to her home, and then she plays it on the piano, and then it cuts back to the Hoss house.
Yeah,
and like that's the only time you see anything but his family home, anything but the Nazis. Is that like small glimmer of hope or humanity. Direction and the very interesting use of camera in this.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't aware, the technique used for this were multicam over. You watch it through, and they're like long scenes played throughout. They walk through the house into different rooms, and it's almost like obviously there are cuts between cameras, but it's one flowing movement. Like it's not we shoot in this room, cut, reset. Up in this
there's
room.
a lot of like it's on tracks and it's
and it's because I don't know if you read about this, that they set up almost hidden cameras in the house, set them up very wide shots, let them run, and cleared the house of crew. So it almost has this improvisational feel.
I heard Sandra Huller say when they're filming in the garden, like she didn't know where the cameras were. But I guess that's quite good for actors. Like they're just acting. No, like we need to make sure I'm being seen from this angle and none of that.
Which is what a unique way of filming this. Like to get that real, almost Big Brother, fly on the wall vibe.
It's like like a God view of it all.
Yeah,
we're just watching. We can't, because most films we're sort of there's a main character where we as the audience are supposed to put ourselves in them.
Yeah,
they're like an audience surrogate, or they're even if they're different to us, we're supposed to relate to them. We're supposed to live their life through them. This isn't like that at all. This is all wide shots. We're just watching. We're not supposed to relate to. Right. We're not supposed to think as if we are Hedwig or Rudolph Haas. Like we are just watching them.
It reminded me of have you seen Red Rocket?
Yes.
So big controversy around Red Rocket is it's presented in a way it's like neo-realism. He goes on about his life and starts a relationship with an underage girl.
Yeah.
But it's not explicitly condemned by any characters in the film.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
You need to, as an audience member, understand that is a horrible thing.
Yeah, he's only really shown positively.
Yes, although he's like a bubbly guy, who seems like someone you'd want to spend time with.
Yeah,
he's a paedophile.
It seems like almost like a romance, but it's not.
It's not at all.
Yeah, but you're supposed to be like, no, you shouldn't be around this guy.
And it's very similar to this, where it's shot in a very unopinionated way.
Yeah.
There aren't any hero shots. You don't get any interest in like tracking. It doesn't lead you to believe anything. Here is a wide shot of everything happening. Yeah. Take away from it what you want.
Spend this time in their house and you can see. Yeah. It's like
I'm not gonna put any bias into this. Take away from it what you need to take away from it.
Yeah, it's like visiting Auschwitz as a museum, but not reading any of the information boards. You can just watching what's happening, and
it's really brilliant
because it's all wide shots. You never see a character close at all, apart from I noticed there's one shot which is pretty big close up, which is the only time the camera is like inside Auschwitz. Was it two?
Is it the low angle?
Low angle. Hoss. Yeah, and you just see his face, and you hear around.
And the smoke behind him.
And you can hear that he's in Auschwitz. People being shot all around him, and his face is blank. That's like the only time you see him at work. The whole rest of the time is all wide shots, and it's all in the there's some bits in Berlin, but it's all like outside the camp.
Wide.
All still wide shots.
Let's talk about, so we've mentioned the ending. Let's talk about the flash forwards. So have you been to Auschwitz?
No.
I went a couple of years ago with a couple of friends, stayed in Krakow, and it's such a lovely place, Krakow. I would recommend going. Really gorgeous. And we went to Auschwitz, went to Birkenau, and it was one of the most harrowing experiences. I've spoken about it before. I don't know if I've spoken to you about it, but whenever I talk about Auschwitz, I talk about the last rooms you go in, which are like sectioned off cubby holes covered with glass, and behind them are piles of shoes, piles of bags. And seeing that in this film again, really hard. I'm shocked that they didn't show the one that got me. It's so hard walking around, but I really got caught out at the end when you see this just piles and piles of hair.
Hair. I thought it'd be the hair. It's possible that they weren't allowed to show that because it's like actual like dead body stuff. I thought it'd be that because I've seen photos of all of this,
Really,
the pile of shoes, the pile of hair, all this.
Yeah.
It is horrible.
And seeing it now, I think, especially intercut with, I think your interpretation is bang on now. I think it makes so much sense. Him having that moment of reflection and seeing how it would be now. The only time you see in Auschwitz is, I think it was like the first furnace you go into. You see the piles of shoes. You see just people going about their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
In a very different context to people going about their day-to-day life in the
you
film.
just see cleaners just hoovering, wiping.
Again, it's unbiased.
Yeah.
It gives no opinion. It is these are people working in Auschwitz today compared to people working in Auschwitz years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh boy, was that hard to see again.
I'd like to go. I've seen a lot of documentaries and films on it, so I feel like education-wise, I might not learn stuff, but I think it's a very important thing to
very, very
see.
important. Yeah.
Because that's kind of, I guess, the negative of the film is that in terms of films like this need to be made to educate people, and I feel like I didn't learn any new stuff at all. I feel like I kind of already knew it. It does remind you, and it makes you feel stuff. I don't know if it's... I did think for a second, like, is this almost exploitative to take this and make effectively like a horror film out of it? And just be like, we're going to make you just feel as unsettled as possible, and rather than just saying... Because it's a very different approach to... You know the film Shoah? I've not seen it. I think it's basically known for being the longest film of all time. I think it's like 17 hours. Wow. It's just a Holocaust documentary. I watched like the first hour and it's so slow. It's like he was just walking from A to B for like 10 minutes. It's like, well, you can just cut this. He's not saying anything. But it is... The director of that like hates Schindler's List because he said it was like exploitative to... Because the thing with Shoah, it doesn't show any footage from it or any photos. You just talk about it. And so that attitude is like... You shouldn't be recreating it. You shouldn't be trying to make the audience cry at seeing and hearing horrible stuff. You should just tell people, this is what happened. This is why we can never let it happen again. So I don't know. There was kind of times where I thought, I don't think it was wrong, but I was thinking like,
I don't think so.
I think exploiting it?
I think the boy in the striped pajama is more exploitative than this. You don't need to see people.
Well, that's the thing.
But you don't. That's not the point of the film.
See, as a kid, obviously that was really... I mean, people were crying and stuff when we watched that in middle school, like the ending scene in the gas chamber. But I do kind of... Yeah, I agree, like, you don't need to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that it does... People might before be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I know that's horrible, but I don't need to think about it. This is like showing it really digs down, like, no, this is a serious thing.
So you're not telling Rudolf Hoss's story because it's not about him.
No.
And it's not about his wife and it's not about his family. You are almost going from a perspective to explore what happened. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I thought it was very good. I think I maybe knew so much about the topic already that I didn't learn anything. And so I watched it with my friend Dan, and he didn't really like it very much because he, I think, was expecting more of a conventional film, and then came out of it.
We had people walk out of the screening.
Really? Because it was very strange for me, because when we went to see it, most people almost were on their own. Yeah, so when it finished, like, Dan was like, oh, that was a bit rubbish. And everyone else was like, stunned silent, but clearly, like, loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sort of said to him, like, yeah, but it's not about entertainment, this film. It's just there to be, like, thought-provoking. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but it didn't provoke any thoughts. I already knew about the Holocaust.
Go and watch Argylle if you want to.
But he did say, like, so what thoughts is it supposed to provoke? And I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, but, I suppose it isn't making me think anything new that I haven't thought much stronger in other films. Schindler's List makes me think about the Holocaust in so much more, and it educates about... So this is what like the ghettos like. This is like when they evacuated everyone from like Krakow, and like this is what Auschwitz is like. This is what Schindler's Factory is. Yeah. You learn all these different things about it. It's very, very educational, and also you learn the different historical figures and everything, and you get the horrible... This is a disgusting thing. These are... So yeah, I don't feel like I learnt too much from this or felt things I hadn't thought before.
I mean...
Apart from the first half an hour when it's like just fly on the wall.
For me, I would argue that that's the point. That you don't have a surrogate. You don't have a Schindler.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone as an audience. You feel alienated.
But I don't think it's even
you
that.
Feel,
it's just...
You feel awkward. You feel misplaced. You feel like you shouldn't be there. And you feel uncomfortable the whole time, whether consciously or subconsciously. Something feels off. It's very similar to Under the Skin. something just feels weird. And arguably a good documentary, like a Louis Theroux documentary, you use Louis as a surrogate to view these stories, but this is almost the wrong combination of film and documentary. You are purposefully making it hard for an audience to relate to what's going on, and that's kind of the point. That's why it worked so well, is that I never felt like I could experience the film, I could enjoy the film as entertainment.
Yeah.
Not like Schindler's List, because you can get a form of entertainment out of it because you're rooting for characters and you want Schindler to win.
And they've got the ending, which is like, obviously, I guess, bittersweet, but it's ultimately these people survived who wouldn't have otherwise survived. And so you're partly crying because obviously so many people died, but you're also like, these people survived and they've got generations because of them. Yeah,
so for me, I would say that's a positive that I took away from it, but I understand that maybe that's not what people go to the cinema for, or
no, I thought it was very positive. I think it's just I've seen other films that have made me feel the same thing, so it didn't provoke many new thoughts. I think also I just knew about Rudolph Haas, I knew about his house a bit. But if you don't, I can it is a really good film.
Well, there you go. That was Zone of Interest.
Yeah,
that was a very mature.
I think so for us.
Discussion. I think we looked at cinematically, looked at that a lot, which was good.
What's it nominated for? I think it's Best Picture, Best Director, Best Picture,
Best International.
Best Picture. I don't think it will win. I think Oppenheimer will.
No.
Best Director,
Best Picture, possibly. Best International, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Sound.
It will definitely win International because it's the only one nominated for Picture.
Best sound easily is winning that.
I think it should win that, at least. I think it probably will. I would recommend you see it. I would
recommend it. 5 stars I gave it.
Yeah, I gave it...
one of the best of this year.
I gave it 4 because I think I kind of wanted more from it. I thought when it stopped, I was like, I am actually in the mood to see more of this movie.
Not satisfying, isn't it? The whole film was unsatisfying. Wow, and that's this week. For everyone who's rejoining us, we've just had our Zone of Interest discussion. It's a very interesting discussion. I would recommend going back and listening to it after you've seen the film. But that must be a whiplash of tone for you guys, from Argylle to this.
Oh yeah, God. Bloody hell.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Next week, we will have a more light-hearted episode all the way through. We'll be looking at The Iron Claw.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think it looks like very a fun film. It's got very good reviews.
And as a hint for the film we'll be pairing it with, it features my favourite Marvel character, the Board. Where's my board?
I've only seen Iron Man 2 once. I don't remember any of the lines.
That's the only line I remember from it. We'll be pairing it with that film, not Iron Man 2, another one.
I'm looking forward to seeing that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this week.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think that was a very interesting one. I think we had some good stuff to say. Yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope people listen next week.
Yeah, so do I. I'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you on the next one too.
Goodbye.
Bye.